started like a tremor, small at first, then growing until it shook the entire world of K-pop. That day, ARMY's timelines overflowed with disbelief, sorrow, and anger. The target? Not a scandal, not a rumor, but something far more personal: Jimin's café. For years, that little café had been a sanctuary. A place fans described as a reflection of Jimin himself. Warm, soft, filled with love. But overnight, that sanctuary turned into a battleground. Cruel notes filled with hate were found pasted on the walls, defacing the same corners that once held handwritten messages of affection. Online, waves of toxic comments followed, each more vicious than the last. The photos spread like wildfire, and with every share, hearts broke. Armies across the world cried, raged, and united, trying to protect what Jimin had built with so much care. But amid the storm of noise and chaos, one voice rose, quiet, steady, and full of heart. It was Jungkook. Just hours after the news broke, he posted on Weverse. The message was short, almost fragile in its simplicity, yet the impact was instant. "Hyung, don't let hate touch your heart. You've given so much light to others. I'm here always." No fancy words. No grand declarations. Just truth, pure, sincere, and deeply personal. Armies wept. They knew Jungkook. When he speaks, it's never for attention. His words always come from the heart. And this was more than comfort. It was a promise. A promise of protection. A promise of love. Hours later, a fan video surfaced online. A simple clip, yet it melted millions of hearts. Jimin stood near his cafe, phone in hand, scrolling through messages. Then he stopped, reading something closely. His expression softened, and for a fleeting second, his eyes glistened. He wiped the corner of his eyes and smiled. Not the bright stage smile fans knew so well, but a quiet, trembling smile that whispered, "I'm not alone anymore." That moment changed everything. By the next morning, the cafe looked nothing like it had the day before. Fans arrived with flowers, paint, and letters. They covered every hateful message with words of warmth, with petals and light. It was no longer a place of pain. It became a symbol of healing. And in the middle of that crowd, stood a man in a black hoodie and mask. Hidden, so watching. Those who looked closely recognized him. Even behind the mask, his presence was unmistakable. He stood at a distance, observing quietly as Jimin spoke with staff and fans, making sure everything was okay. He didn't draw attention to himself. He wasn't there for cameras or praise. He was there for one reason: to protect. His gaze was sharp but tender, filled with unspoken emotion. The kind of look that says, "I'll stay until I know you're safe." Then Jimin turned and their eyes met. Time seemed to stop. For a second, the noise of the world disappeared, replaced only by the faint hum of the city breeze. Jimin smiled, a small, genuine curve of his lips. And Jungkook responded by lowering his head slightly, an instinctive, affectionate gesture that said more than words ever could. "I'm here. You're not alone." The crowd went silent. Some fans froze, hands trembling as they tried to record the moment without breaking it. When Jimin walked closer, Jungkook reached out, resting a hand on his shoulder. Firm, grounding. No words. No cameras. Just understanding. Two souls communicating in silence. Later, when Jimin addressed the fans, his voice carried the weight of exhaustion, but also the warmth of hope. "I know many of you came because you were worried," he said softly. "But please don't be. I'm okay, and I'm not alone. Thank you for your love, and thank you to someone who always watches over me, even in silence." As soon as those words left his lips, heads turned. Jungkook stood behind him, smiling quietly, eyes glistening under the dim cafe lights. He bowed his head, lightly patted Jimin's hand, a gesture that spoke volumes. Within minutes, social media exploded. #StandWithJimin, #Jikook support, and #Jungkook always there shot to the top of the trending lists worldwide. But it wasn't the drama that made it viral. It was the sincerity. The raw, honest care between them that transcended words. That evening, the cafe closed early. Under tight security, Jimin and Jungkook slipped away together, trying to avoid the media frenzy. But even as they walked through the dim alley toward their car, a few cameras caught a glimpse. Jungkook's hand resting gently on Jimin's arm, guiding him through the chaos. To outsiders, it looked like a simple act of care. But to ARMY, it was everything. Because that hand, protective, reassuring, said what the world already knew. When Jimin falls, Jungkook is always there to catch him. Inside the car, Jimin waved softly to fans before turning to Jungkook. The look they exchanged said it all. Exhaustion, gratitude, love, and something deeper. That night, photos of them spread everywhere, flooding feeds with captions like, "That's not friendship, that's family," and "You can see the care in Jungkook's eyes." A few hours later, another rumor surfaced, that Jimin and Jungkook were seen in a quiet cafe in Seoul. No cameras, no entourage, just two people in a dimly lit room, nursing cups of tea and a silence that felt sacred. A witness said Jungkook sat close beside Jimin, occasionally refilling his cup, occasionally just watching him, as if making sure he was really okay this time. "Thanks for coming," Jimin murmured. "Hyung," Jungkook replied gently, "you know I can't stay still when someone hurts you." They both laughed softly, the tension finally breaking. Then came the silence, not awkward but full. Full of everything that didn't need to be said. At one point, Jungkook quietly took a blanket and draped it over Jimin's shoulders. Jimin froze for a moment, then smiled faintly, the kind of smile that said, "I'm safe now." Outside, the night spread softly over Seoul, the city lights reflecting off their faces. "It's strange," Jimin whispered, "even after all that hate, there's still so much love." Jungkook smiled, eyes never leaving him. "Love always wins, Hyung. You're the proof." By morning, HYB released a formal statement, promising legal action and tighter security. But the world wasn't focused on the legal part. They were focused on the human story, the quiet, tender strength that shone through when Jungkook stood by Jimin's side. Fan art flooded social media, edits and quotes replayed their every glance. Hashtags like #Jikook forever, #support Jimin, and #Jungkook cares filled timelines for days. And slowly the cafe began to heal. The hateful notes vanished, replaced by hundreds of colorful messages, each one filled with gratitude and love. On one wall, a fan wrote a single line that became the event's emblem. "From wounds, light is born, and that light is Jimin." A week later, cafe staff quietly confirmed Jungkook had returned, alone this time. He sat for a while reading the letters, smiling to himself. Before leaving, he wrote a note on lavender paper and placed it on the wall. "Thank you for loving him. JK." When Jimin came days later and saw it, he stood there for a long time, his eyes soft, his lips trembling into a small smile. "Thank you for being here," he whispered. The cafe incident left scars, but also something far more beautiful. It revealed what lies beneath the fame, the lights, the noise. Two people who remain human, who care deeply, who heal each other quietly. Jungkook showed the world that real love doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it's in the way you show up, stand by, and simply stay. And Jimin showed that gentleness isn't weakness. It's the kind of strength that can calm even the fiercest storm. In the end, armies learn something precious. Hate may echo loudly, but love endures longer. And among the millions of lights that shone again after that dark night, one truth became clear. Jimin and Jungkook's bond isn't just something performed on stage. It's real. It's enduring. It's the kind of love that protects, heals, and reminds the world that even in the darkest nights, light always finds its way back.